So the one thing that really has been reflective of the crypto industry in the last few months is the pace of regulatory developments happening within the US. I think we're entering an era where the current administration is just reversing all the anti-crypto policies that were in place and are essentially creating on-ramps in order to acknowledge certain things about crypto that are quite useful for the US economy and for innovation, generally speaking. One of these things obviously being stablecoins. So there was a bill specifically related to stablecoins, which was called the Genius Act, if I remember it correctly.
Yep.
This is essentially a regulation that recognizes stablecoins as legal tenders, or not as legal tenders, as payment currencies. And it categorizes them into either ones that are regulated by state regulators or by federal regulators. And the whole point of this is to essentially create a supervision, yeah, over the sector, if you may, while also allowing banks potentially to start issuing their own stable coins and allowing enterprises to start issuing their stable coins. So just as a repercussion of the fact that this Genius Act just got passed in the Senate about 2 weeks ago by the Banking Committee, it passed with a bipartisan approval of, I think it was 18 to a small number. So this is now going to be voted on, broadly speaking, in the Senate itself, and this is the one of the few bills that have made it, yeah, pretty much so far in both either Congress or Senate. As a repercussion of this, we're now seeing that a lot of enterprises and firms are jumping on the bandwagon. Yesterday, we just heard that Fidelity is planning to launch their stablecoin. Bank of America, I think this was about 3 weeks ago. They pretty much announced that they are indeed planning to also launch their stablecoin as soon as regulations are put in place that allows them to do. Wyoming is one of the I think it's the only state that is pretty much advancing towards launching their own stablecoin. I think Max mentioned earlier that we have certain states deciding to put implementing an alternative to the Bitcoin strategic reserve. Wyoming is doing that, but also taking it a step further by having their own stablecoin. So it shows their bullishness towards the ecosystem and the industry. And then most recently, Trump's World Liberty, which is I would say the crypto arm of the Trump organization or the Trump-backed organization that their venture started off by announcing a lending and borrowing protocol built on Aave. This was announced almost 6 months ago. They've been adding to their own crypto stack, and I think they have at the moment around 250 million worth of crypto assets spread across many different tokens, mostly of the large ones and DeFi tokens. So we did actually do a newsletter about this because they announced that they were trying to venture into other parts of the crypto financial ecosystem, and there was some certain signs that they were going to launch a stablecoin. So this is quite exciting to see it that they actually did launch it yesterday. It's going to be on the Binance chain and Ethereum, and yeah, this shows that there's going to be more integrations and more bridges between TradFi and DeFi as we move forward. So this is on the stablecoins vertical. We did also have some quite monumental news, I would say. So for instance, Binance secured their largest investment from MGX. And the cool thing about this deal was that it was all done in stablecoins. This is the first of its kind to see such an investment slash transaction in a huge amount as such. And it shows also that even the most detested players within the ecosystem, like Binance, was at some point considered a black swan because of all the regulatory choke points around it. We can see now that the sentiment is changing. We also saw Kraken acquiring NinjaTrader, one of the largest derivative platforms or futures platforms. This is one of the largest crypto slash TradFi financial deals in the history of crypto by far. So this also shows that, yeah, there is an growing appetite for the ecosystem. And then also we saw Coinbase, they said that they are, nearing an acquisition of Deribit, which is one of the largest futures platforms in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Then, last but not least, Trump Media Shares, which is another arm different from Trump World Liberty. Trump World Liberty is just focused on crypto, whereas Trump Media is more of a media conglomerate that is venturing into finance, fintech, and crypto. They also announced that they are going to launch an ETF for crypto.com and potentially more others down the line.